Hi, make sure to fasten your seatbelt because you're entering the big haircutting massacre roller coaster. So I've been cutting my own hair since 2015. I haven't been to the hairdressers ever since. And the last time I cut my hair was around October, I think, which is a really long time, and I should have done it earlier, but I didn't really have time, or I didn't feel like it, I can't remember. The point is, it's been a long time and something needed to be done. If you've been watching my recent videos, you might have noticed that my hair got quite long and didn't really hold the curl that well when I set it in rollers, or rather it did, but setting it and brushing it out took such a long time, I usually ended up with a braid crown anyway. Lately, I've been digging late 1930s fashion photographs. Cheers to my Instagram friends spamming me with those from time to time. And I've also watched a 1939 film, The Women, with Norma Shearer. I found Norma to be a perfect specimen of a woman. And she also gave me a serious hair envy, even though I thought I'm quite okay with my long hair. To make sure I wouldn't look like an idiot, because as you know, I'm not actually Norma Shearer, I took a thumbnail of one of my videos and photoshopped it to see what shape of hair would fit my face best. And as it turned out, my hair would have to be a little bit longer than Norma's, but swiped off the forehead just like hers. Then I took my Instagram photos and photoshopped that same hairstyle on to see how it would all look together with my body. And as it turned out, on some pics, I actually looked better with the old hairstyle, but I decided to ignore it and proceed. I gave myself a couple of days to see if that wasn't like a short-lived phase, but I found myself wanting Norma hair more and more. So I did it. It is time. My hair is super thick, and I don't mean like each hair is thick, but rather there is a lot of it on my head, which makes it quite difficult to manage. It is also cut in a U shape, meaning that the front is the shortest and it gradually gets longer on the sides, and the longest part is the center back. This cut helps with vintage hairstyles a lot and makes it really so much easier to achieve those like glorious 40s style curls. And as you can see, the front of my hair is a little bit below my chin, while the back reaches almost below my shoulder blades. So first I decided to shampoo my hair because it made me feel more like I'm at the hair salon. Okay, actually it was really dirty and I needed to wet it anyway for cutting. So my previous haircut was cut with a side parting, but that resulted in situations like this one where a longer piece of hair gets stuck on the wrong side. So I decided to do a middle parting this time and cut it symmetrically and then just style it on the side. I divided my hair in two parts on two sides of my head. First I decided to just cut it short so then I can trim it to the shape I want. Then my sister interrupted because she wanted to pee. Wat zag daar? Then I realized I might actually need a comb. I cut all the hair more or less the length my back hair was supposed to be. I used my new fabric scissors for that because they're the sharpest thing I own and I kind of don't regret it. I'm not sure why people online make such a huge fuss over cutting hair. Like they go for the first strand and they're like, oh my god, it's happening. Like I did feel a little bit anxious doing that, but at that point I was quite sure I want to do this. I don't know, it's probably a lot different if you're doing it spontaneously at 3 a.m. So I was comparing new strands of hair to the ones I've already cut to make it more or less the same length, but it turned out U-shape anyway. I don't know if it's just my old habits or what. Sorry you can't see what I'm doing, but my bathroom is kind of like an awkward shape. Like it's not small, but it's really long and narrow and I didn't really know how to position the camera. So maybe the video quality isn't the best, but I was kind of more focused on hair quality. Oh my god, that's a stork. A stork just flew outside my window, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, I'd much rather mess up the video than my hair. So after realizing it's nowhere near even, but also remembering that I don't need it to be even because I'm gonna trim it anyway, I went for the actual trimming. I started with the front section because that's what a 1930s haircut chart told me to do. Even though I didn't follow the rest of it. I determined that the front hair would have to be a little bit below the nose length in order for it to curl tightly close to my face for that Norma Shearer look. After cutting each strand, I cut it vertically with my scissors to get some weight off the ends and make them less even. I don't know, hairstylists do that, right? I'm not sure why, but I just did it so it's not too harsh. I made sure that the length would make the curled hair end up where I want it to be, and then I realized I kind of look like Joe Exotic. Then I had to gradually go longer and longer. And I usually do this by holding the strand that's being cut with the one I just cut to compare the length. And then I cut it by positioning my scissors at an angle. You can't really see that though, but I think I'll be showing that when cutting the opposite side. The reason I can get away with not being precise at all is that my natural hair has a slight curl, so even if I wear it uncurled, you can't see when something is uneven or messy. I made sure to check from time to time what the length would be like when the hair is up and curly. At this point I looked a little bit like Joan Jett in the 70s, I guess. The back is always the most tricky when you're cutting your own hair. I'm usually not super precise and leave most of the back the same length anyway. So far it wasn't looking fantastic, but I was trying to see what it would look like with curled hair or with my side parting, and it didn't help much. Like I couldn't see it. The other side was obviously more tricky because I had to make it match the first half. Here I realized you can't see anything and I changed the camera setup. Anyway, if I cut this side shorter, I would then have to trim the other side again to make it shorter too. So to avoid that, I kept comparing the hair on both sides by taking strands of hair from symmetrical points on both sides of my head. I still ended up with the left side being a bit longer and really uneven, and I had to fix that. The finished cut on wet hair makes me kind of look like your skateboarding neighbor Jordan back in 1998. But you know, I still had a lot of faith. After some additional fixes, I combed my hair to the side for a quick Hillary Clinton impression, and I then went back to the middle parting and used 2 mirrors to check if the back is acceptable, and it kind of was. Then it was time for the next phase of the Norma Shearer project, the hair thinning. I had a look at original booklets and charts from the era, and most of them mention hair thinning. Now I'm not really sure what that is because I'm a noob, but apparently hair thinning helps thick hair get more smooth, less bulky, and generally speaking, it makes it easier to style. It looks a bit scary as you're cutting the hair quite close to the skull, but it only takes out like 15% of your hair, and it's supposed to be done on dry hair, which I didn't know. Because my hair is really thick and heavy and frizzy, and because it was done by 30s and 40s hairstylists, so I assumed it helps with the curls, I wasn't afraid to try it out. But if you're cutting your own hair yourself, you should probably do some research first before getting a pair of hair thinning scissors. The vintage charts recommended thinning the hair every 1 inch or so, and I kind of did that, but not really. I think the sections I picked for hair thinning were too thick, and I also had troubles remembering which strands I've already thinned, and some of them were underneath and some of them went over those, and it was a hot mess. And it's also a really strange feeling to have all these hair fall out. The end result gave me a massive 2005 nostalgia. I dried my hair with a blow dryer, which I never do because my hair gets super frizzy and uncomfortable and dry, but then it already looked a little bit better, sort of 90s. Then I used foam rollers to set my hair. I wet my hair strand by strand, and I didn't have a particular setting pattern. I just made sure the direction was downwards, if that makes sense. It was a bit disappointing that because my hair is so thick, I actually have to use the same amount of rollers as I did with long hair. I then put a headscarf on and spent the rest of the day and night in it to let it dry out. I woke up and did my makeup because I thought it would emphasize the effect, even if it's crappy, and I didn't expect the curls to get that short and tight. This one here got loose at night and didn't really curl that much. Neither did this one at the back. I then brushed the hair, and sorry, my brush is disgusting. It still had some hair from the hair thinning, and now more hair thinning remains fell out. So at the back my hair isn't really similar to Norma's, as hers seems to be more layered with curls starting almost at the top, but like the overall shape was quite similar, and I was actually pleasantly surprised considering I have no experience in authentic vintage hairstyling. I pinned one side flat and then started smoothing the curls by putting them around my finger. I've seen some vintage girls do that, and it makes a lot of sense because their hair is sort of mid-brush out, and if I did brush it out completely, it would probably end up, you know, something resembling a 1950s hairstyle. I then pinned the other side down, sprayed it all to make sure it lasts, and pinned the back so it's more flat. And that was pretty much it. It took me like 10 minutes. looked like on the second day after resetting, and you can see I already made some progress when it comes to smoothing it out. So overall, I'm quite happy with it. It's probably going to look crap when not styled, but you know what? There are scarves and turbans around, or I can put it up in a fake poodle hairstyle on. There is a lot of options, you know? The Norma Shearer look is unlocked. Thanks for watching this disgusting parade of incompetence and improvisation.